Hello and welcome back to the another episode of Daily News Quiz Analysis for IAS Prelims 2025. It is 21st March today, and in this video we are going to solve some important questions which could be very much relevant for your preparation if you are preparing for UPSC Prelims 2025 or any other civil service exams of your states. So before we will start our discussion, I would like to give the brief introduction about this initiative so that if you are new to our channel, you will get more connected with us. Basically in this video, we are going to discuss three types of questions which would be taken from three different sources. So depending on it, the first set of questions which we are going to solve here would be taken from the current affairs. What we are going to do here? We will take up the most important articles from the newspapers. We will try to break them down into the simplest language possible, and we will try to derive the possible prelims questions from those particular articles so that it will give you the idea which part of the newspaper is important for you, what should be your approach when you are reading these news articles, and how you can expect a possible prelims question from those particular topics. This is what we are going to do in the first phase of our discussion. After solving questions with respect to current affairs, we will shift our approach to the another part. Here we will discuss questions from the static portion, static topics. Currently we are discussing Indian polity, and in Indian polity we are discussing the Parliament of India, and in Parliament of India we are discussing the concepts related to Raj Sabha. So today we are going to discuss few more concepts related to Raj Sabha and try to derive the possible prelims question on those particular concepts, so that it will give the idea how exactly a question can be asked in the exam and prepare you well for that. After solving questions with respect to the static portion, also we will shift our approach to the last part of our discussion. Here we will discuss questions from the previous year question book. To me this is the most important part, because in here we will have the exact idea how exactly the questions are framed by the UPSC examiner, and we'll get the idea what is the vocabulary they tend to use for framing your questions, and we will also try to find out what are the different techniques, or we can say different trends they follow for framing your papers. At the same time, we will try to understand what can be the different techniques which we can implement in the exam if we don't have the proper knowledge of the question, and at the same time we'll try to learn how we can implement this information in the upcoming exam. So this is in a nutshell what we are going to do in this video. So before we start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, do share it with your friends, and do write in the comments what else should we bring for you guys. With this, let's have a look at the first question which we had brought here. As you can see here on the screen, the question is basically about the Competition Commission of India, a statutory body. Why we had brought this question, why we are going to discuss question about it today, because it has direct relevance with the news which we will discuss after we will solve the question here first. So let's solve the question first. Here the question says, with reference to the Competition Commission of India, consider the following statements. First statement, the Competition Commission of India is a constitutional body mandated to ensure fair competition in Indian markets. 100% it is mandate, the mandate of the Competition Commission of India, it is 100% its mandate is to ensure fair competition in Indian markets. That's why we are discussing it today, because of the news which was in the newspaper today, which talked about challenges of policing digital giants. For example, we have Google, we have Meta, we have different digital giants which has monopolized this digital market. How challenging it is to police them. So this was the whole concept of today's discussion. And with this regard, the Competition Commission of India plays a huge part in India, because it controls controls the monopolies enjoyed by these companies. This is true. This part is true. But is it constitutional body? This is the concern. This is why most of the students make the incorrect judgment. It is not a constitutional body, it is a statutory body. So please remember that it is a statutory body. So first statement, because of this word constitutional body, because of these two words, it became incorrect. So first statement is incorrect. Otherwise, the function which is enshrined here is 100% true. It is mandate is to ensure fair competition in Indian market. And why it is in news? Because of the article in the newspaper of controlling the global giants. So with respect this question, first statement is incorrect. So let's apply this method in how we should follow this, how we should solve the questions in the exam. Let's apply that here too. So by knowing that first statement is incorrect, we can eliminate option A, we can eliminate option C. Now let's move to the option 2. It says the primary legislation that empowers the Competition Commission of India is the Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, MRTP Act 1969. Is it so? Does the Competition Commission of India get its power from this act, or does it get its power from the Companies Act of 2002? So this is also incorrect. The Competition Commission of India, it gets power from the Companies Act of 2002. So second statement is also incorrect. Now let's have a look at the options here. In third option there is no second statement, so we can keep it here. In fourth option we have second statement here, so this statement becomes incorrect. Now we are left with only one option, that is B, which is 3 and 4, which should be the answer of this question. Now let's have a look at the third option. Third option says the Competition Commission of India has the authority to review mergers and acquisitions that could have an appreciable adverse effect on competition within India. 100% correct, nothing wrong with the statement. Fourth statement, recent amendments have increased the focus of Competition Commission of India on regulations concerning digital markets. 100% correct. This is true. So with respect to this question, the correct options are statement 3 and statement 4. And as we were solving the question, we came to the context of the question. Why we discussed this? Because it majorly talked about how we can control the digital giants in India, like Meta, we have Google, how they are enjoying the monopolies, how Google is enjoying the monopoly in Android phones. You know, whenever you buy any Android phone, you will see all the apps related to the Google, all the subsidiaries of the Google would be available there. So they in a way enjoy this monopoly. I had an important call. So where were we? I hope we had completed the question here. We had established the answer, and about the context, we understood that how the global giants like Meta and Google, they are enjoying the monopolies in the different platforms. For example, if we will see the Android phones, there everything would be related to Google. So to control this monopoly with respect to and also one more thing which I would like to add here, that for example, suppose you are using any app of any platform of Meta, any subsidiary of Meta, for example WhatsApp. So you share data with the WhatsApp, and there are chances that this data would be shared with other subsidiaries of Meta, so that to enjoy this monopoly in the digital market. So who will overlook it? It is the authority of the Competition Commission of India who will do so. And we had seen cases with respect to with respect to Meta, how Competition Commission of India, they fined Meta for about of certain amount, and how Meta went to the NCLAT, and NCLAT had stated. So with respect to this, it is the Competition Commission of India which controls, which checks the monopolies enjoyed by the different companies in the Indian market. So with this, I hope you had understood the question as well as the context of the question. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Here the question is about the Defund Act recently seen in news related to, right now it is the Donald Trump era. It is Donald Trump versus the multilateralism, Donald Trump versus the international organizations which have different countries in it. So definitely, Donald Trump's policies are very much clear to everybody. How he is very much protectionist. How he believes in protecting the market of USA itself. So with respect to this, there is this Defund Act which is believed in it. USA is trying to reduce or we can say eliminate the US funding to UN, and also in a way USA is trying to get away from the UN. So with this regard, this Defund Act is important for us, and that's why it was in the news today. So let us solve the question about it and get more idea about it through this question. Here the question says, the Defund Act recently seen in news relates to first statement, proposed legislation in the United States concerning reduction in domestic policing budgets. Is it proposed legislation in the United States concerning the reduction in domestic policing budgets? Totally incorrect. Second statement, a United Nations resolution aimed at reducing military spending by member states, totally incorrect. Fourth statement, an international treaty focused on reduction of financial contributions to global environment protection agencies, totally incorrect. Third statement, that would be the correct option. A proposed legislation in the United States aimed at significantly reducing or eliminating US funding and participating in the United Nations, 100% correct. This is why it is in news, because of the Donald Trump's approach, how he is coming out of various international organizations, and so right now he is thinking about the UN. So let's see what will happen with respect to this. So here till now you need to know about the Defund Act. So with this, let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Here the question is about the section 9A and say section 79 of the Information Technologies Act. Why it is in news? Because the X corporation, X company, we know that of the Elon Musk. They had challenged, how, they had challenged, the content blocking order by authorities under IT Act, under the IT Act of under Information Technology Act, and they had challenged that, usually what used to happen, that content would be blocked through the section 69A, but recently it has been changed, and now it is section 79 has been introduced. So they don't like, because under section 79 they have to go for the, they have this safe harbor. But what does that mean? That they have to regularize this, they have to remove the content by themselves, and it in a way goes against the total, it in a way goes against the total understanding of the freedom of expression, what they believe in. So with respect to this, we need to understand, we need to have this basic understanding about the section 69A and section 79, what they are about of the Information Technology Act 2000, as they had revolved in the news recently. Here the question says, consider the following statements regarding section 69A and section 79 of the Information Technology Act 2000. First, section 69A grants the government the power to block public access to information through any computer resource, 100% correct. Second statement, section 79 provides intermediaries with immunities from liability for third party content subject to certain conditions. So under this section 79, the intermediaries, for example YouTube would be there, Twitter would be there, they would not be liable for any post what the third party is using, what we are using, but they have to follow certain conditions. This is what the Elon Musk does not like. He believes that it is better for India to go for the section 69A, because there are few conditions. If violated, then only this that particular content would have been removed. But this section 79, it is broader, and it does in a way violate the right to freedom and freedom of expression. So with respect to this question, both these two statements are correct. With this, I hope you had understood the statement as well as the question here. You had understood the question as well as the context of the question here. Now let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Here the question is about the regarding the power of eminent domain exercised by the government. Consider the following statements. Let's see what this power of eminent domain is about. Let's solve the question here. The question's first statement, eminent domain refers to the inherent power of the state to acquire private property for public purposes. 100% correct. Why it is in news? Because of this reason, that the government has got the properties at certain place, and the board and it was given to the board for the usage, but this board has traded that particular land, has agreed to return half of the land back to the private owner, and to which the courts came in, and they believe that it is the fraud on the power of the government. So they will not allow it to happen. So that if the government has taken your land under this, they will give the compensation for that, but this land will not be given back to that person through this third party. So with respect to this, that's why we have discussed this question. So here we need to understand this. The first statement is correct. Statement is correct. Now let's have a look at the second statement. Let's see what does it say. It says the exercise of eminent domain is absolute and not subject to judicial review. This is totally incorrect. It has been subject to judicial review through various cases we have from the history itself. So definitely it is incorrect. Even when government will take your land, it is your right to go to the courts. Even though the earlier it was the fundamental right, but because of this, it was actually removed as it was kept only constitutional right. It is value as the right to uh, right to property. It was earlier fundamental right, but it was removed because of this exactly thing, because of this eminent domain thing, that government can acquire the land. And still it is the constitutional right. You can go to the courts, you go for the judicial review. So second statement is incorrect. So here we can easily eliminate option B, we can eliminate option C, and eliminate option D. We are left with option 1A only, that's 1 and 3 only, that would be the correct answer. So here we established the answer by just solving the first two statements. But still, let's have a look at the third statement and see whether the statement is correct or not. The third statement says the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement Act 2013 governs the process of land acquisition under eminent domain in India. 100% correct. The fourth statement, the public purposes for which land can be acquired under eminent domain is narrowly defined to include only infrastructural projects. Totally incorrect. So here we established the answer. The answer to this question is option A. Why it is news? Because some land was acquired by the government under this domain, but it was when it was sent for the project, the board which was undertaking the land, it was given back to half of that was agreed by the board to give back to the landowner, the private owner, which the government, which the judiciary came in, and they think that it is fraud on the government power of the government of fraud on the power of the government of eminent domain, and it can't be done. So that's why it is in news. So with respect to this question, I hope you had understood the question as well as the context. Now let's move to the another slide and see what question we had brought there. Here the question is about the Swardesh Darshan scheme. Swardesh Darshan scheme. Let's see what does the question say here. First, let's solve the question. Then, as usual, we will move to the context. Here the question says, the scheme is implemented by the Ministry of Culture. No, it is not implemented by the Ministry of Culture, but by the Ministry of Tourism. So first statement is incorrect, but it is to promote cultural tourism in India. So first statement is incorrect. We can eliminate option A. We can eliminate option C. We are left with option B and D. What is common in B and D? 2 and 3 is common, 2 and 3 is common. So it is better for us to look at the option 4 to solve a question quite quickly. So let's have the quick vision at the option 4. Option 4 says the development of spiritual circuits is excluded under the scheme. Totally incorrect. It is included in the scheme. So option 4 is incorrect. So which makes the correct answer to this question is option B, that is 2 and 3. So in this way, just looking at the two statements, we could easily solve the question. But here it is our duty to look at the every statement. So let's have a look at the second statement. Let's see what does it say. The second statement says the primary focus of the scheme is on developing tourism circuits based on specific themes. 100% correct. Third statement, the scheme provides for 100% central funding for the tourism infrastructural projects. 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct statements are statement 2 and 3. So why it is in news? Because the Public Accounts Committee, they had flagged certain issues with respect to this scheme, that this scheme was implemented in 2015 to promote tourism, but CAG, they came in, they found certain problems with it. First, the feasibility of the project, and there was no feasibility study, and also how actual implementation would be, how actually the implementation would be done, what are the reasons for the delay. So that report was taken by the Public Accounts Committee, and now they had flagged these issues with respect to this scheme. That is why it is in news. So with this, I hope you had understood the context as well as the question here. Now with this, let's move to the another slide and see questions from another part of our discussion, which is the static part. As you know, currently we are discussing the Parliament of India. In Parliament of India, we are discussing the Rajya Sabha. Yesterday we discussed the legislative powers of the Rajya Sabha. How Rajya Sabha has similar power to the Lok Sabha with respect to the ordinary bills. With respect to the bills except money bill, how powers are almost similar. But there are certain ways, certain bills in which joint session is referred. We saw that in the yesterday's class also, that in joint session, who is the authority who will preside over it, who will chair the joint session? It is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. It is the Speaker of the Lok Sabha who will ask for the, who will preside the joint sitting. So this much you should know. And with this, you know, now here you need to know that what are the bills for which there is no joint session. Money bill, no joint session. Constitutional amendment bill, no joint session. So please remember them. Other than these bills, there is joint session and Speaker will preside. And till now, we should know how many bills had passed through the joint sitting. You know, such questions can be asked. As you know, in last year's exam, we saw that there was a question about how many delimitations had been done. So about joint sitting, a question about like this can be asked. So let's solve the question here. Question says, how many bills have been passed by a joint sitting of the Indian Parliament, and which of the following lists accurately reflect these bills? 2 bills no, 4 bills no, 1 bill no. It is 3 bills. What are these bills? The Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 true. The Banking Service Commission Repeal Bill 1978 true. And the Prevention of Terrorism Act POTA 2002 100% correct. So with respect to this question, the correct option would be option B. With this, let's move to the last part of our discussion and see what question we had brought there. As you can see here, the question says, through which one of the following groups of countries does the equator pass? Before we solve the question, we know that currently we are discussing the questions from the world geography, and this question was asked in 2006. So correct answer is option B, which is Colombia, Kenya, and Indonesia. So please do remember what are the countries through which the equator passes, Tropic of Cancer passes, and Tropic of Capricorn passes. We need to know these countries because a question about it can be asked in the exam. As we are seeing here, a question about it has been asked by the examiners. So with this, we conclude our discussion. I hope you would have liked the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I definitely hope you would subscribe the channel. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and please share it. Thank you very much.